Good evening, everyone. So, first of all, congratulations for clearing prelims. And how many of you wrote last year mains? 3, 4, 5, 6 people. Okay. So, what was your experience? So, you expected to get very good marks in GS, but you didn't get good marks. So, that is one common experience many people have. In this session, I will be focusing mainly on my own observations based on kind of analysis of many marks of toppers, many marks of people who didn't make it to the list. So, what is changing in UPSC, especially with respect to essay and also GS 1, 2, 3, 4 papers, and briefly about optional also. So what is their thinking right now? So, what is the core expectation? So, what are they expecting from every candidate who is writing mains examination? So, if you understand that the demand of the exam, it keeps changing every year because it is also influenced by various factors. The way they evaluate, the way they set the paper, right? So, it is influenced by how the coaching industry trains students, right? So, how online materials influence, how videos influence thinking of aspirants. So, let us directly start with this session without talking about anything else. So, first with essay paper, right? So, this year what is the highest marks in essay paper? So, as far as I know, 149 is highest. Somebody said 152 also, but it is very clear that except one or two people, nobody has scored more than 150 in essay paper, right? So, the good marks which we say above average are very good marks is lying in the range of 135 to 140 for most of the students in essay paper this year. So, around 140 is kind of very good score, for this year, I mean last year mains. And for most of the people who used to write decent essays and who could replicate that kind of essay in the examination, they have scored 130 to 135. Most of the people with ranks have 130 plus marks in essays. So, again, majority of them within 135 to 140 range. Earlier, there are instances before like 3-4 years, some people used to score 165, 175 also, right? Now, nobody is able to score 150 plus, and the scores are decreasing across all the papers. It is evident in essay paper also. So, earlier people used to say that, if I write n number of essays, if I focus more on essay, maybe I would get 150, 160. Now, you need to be satisfied with between 135 to 140 going by last year trend. But also we see another trend that those who haven't cleared, so they have scored in the range of 100 to 120, the essay score. So, those who haven't cleared, the marks is 100 to 120, and also people who used to score 130, 140 in previous attempts, they are again scoring somewhere 110, even less than 120 also. So, that is also there. So, this factor, is mainly because of the kind of topic they are selecting, because the topics are also getting more abstract, more subjective year after year. The kind of topic they are selecting, and also irrespective of which topic they are selecting, how they are writing an essay for the topic, right? So, this question like how you are writing an essay for the topic is important. If at all you want to be in 135 to 140 or even 140 plus range, there is clear cut evidence, clear cut thinking that your essay needs to be very original in nature. Original in the sense that year it must be original, not original from the perspective of previous year topper copy, right? For example, what I'm meaning by this statement is that, let us say that previous year topper, somebody got rank 1 and he has written a book on how to write essay, and he suggests you that you should go with this approach in the introduction, that you bring two contrasting ideas, you write pro idea, and then you contrast with against idea, story 1, story 2, scene 1, scene 2, stage 1, stage 2, case 1, case 2, right? So, most of the people start doing this, right? Now, what these most of the people who have taken this idea from this book that you should write introduction like this. The originality factor which they like to bring is this. So the character in the story changes, right? The setting in the story changes, but the framework remains the same. They try to discover their originality in terms of changing the theme of the story that they are writing in the introduction, rather than completely moving away from that kind of introduction itself, right? So as an evaluator, there are two factors: what satisfies them, what motivates them, what encourages them, impresses them to give you more marks. Number one is always originality, right? Originality doesn't mean deviating from the demand of the topic. You are writing everything, every word, every sentence within the purview, within the demand of the topic, but originality in terms of ideas you can think of, the related ideas, the related dimensions, perspectives, viewpoints, whatever you call, original examples, right? For example, most of the philosophical essay, there is always a quote by Vivekananda by everyone, right? Something about Mahatma Gandhi, right? Maybe something about APJ Abdul Kalam, something about Mother Teresa, right? So nowadays something about Sudha Murthy. So you think that you have read something about them, and you try to bring them in your essay, but you don't know that almost everyone in the competition is doing the same thing. Now the moment there is an idea, there is a topic in the essay, and you're bringing these examples, maybe in different perspectives. For an evaluator, what it indicates is that this particular candidate who has written this essay is not a thinker, like he is not original, he is not applying his own thinking. Second, what it indicates is that you haven't done extra effort in terms of preparation, right? You have just gone with the herd mentality that even though you are preparing for 1 year, 2 years to improve your essay, your world is revolving around the comfort zone you have, the things you have collected. So you are not making any little extra effort to diversify both your ideas, thinking, the examples, right? Arguments, counter arguments, whatever you say. So that aspect. And from where will it come, right? The second aspect I was talking about, one is originality for an evaluator, and the second aspect is what? Extra effort is there, like within that originality is because of extra effort. Second thing is the way you are bringing clarity in your ideas. So without in one reading, it is evident that you are perfectly hitting the demand of the question, right? So you are not beating around the bush, you are not writing unnecessary stuff either in GS answers or even in essay. Every statement, every paragraph you are trying to build. So is basically trying to meet the core demand of the topic, that being very precise, to the point, yet original, right? So is most important for evaluator. And so when you are writing only the relevant stuff, it actually makes evaluation easy for them, right? Without unnecessarily complicating your argument, complicating the way you are bringing your argument. If you just go with the flow and ensure that the reading is very easy for evaluator while being original, that always gets very good marks. So recently I had an opportunity to speak to few people. They said those who went for evaluation, or those who knew that they went for evaluation, what they are saying that for an evaluator in UPSC, it is such an irritating job that every year they see the product of coaching institutions, right? This session is going to change the way you are writing mains. I guarantee it, right? So what they are saying, till 2016, we encouraged paragraph because people were writing in paragraphs, they were getting marks. Suddenly everyone started doing that, and then some topper started writing in point format. So then 17, 18 people started writing in more of point format, got good marks. And because everybody started writing in point format, next year the next presentation was put boxes, highlight your examples. So 18, 19 you started doing that. You got diagram, flow charts, 17, 18 it was excess. So people got rewarded. And then the same thing continued. So 19 and 20 means people who went with this approach, writing to the like direct point format without explaining stuff. Now you break question into 3 parts, and whichever be the nature of question, myself I am discouraging this way forward thing past 4 years. But I don't know from where people have got every answer, every essay will have that way forward. The moment they are seeing way forward, they are cutting down your marks by 2 marks. That itself shows that complete lack of originality in your thinking. Like you are not at all applying your mind. You are just following, a coaching or training or a topper's method or whatever it is. So if you have to, it doesn't matter which center you are going to write, right? It doesn't matter which city, which center, and which test series you are going to enroll. I know people like, today also I spoke to a few people. I am speaking to so many people who have cleared. Those who are scoring 110 in GS papers in Insights or, Vision or Forum, most of them have scored low marks, right? So it's not about switching your test series. You can go with any test series. You don't join Insights also, don't write test series also, it doesn't matter. In fact, people who are not writing test series are getting better ranks. Seriously, because we got nearly 100 people for felicitation. I was surprised when some of them told they never wrote a test series. So they are not influenced by any evaluation, any particular set of. If at all you are writing test series, it is only for practice purpose, right? Not to get influenced by the feedback. So you are experimenting, you are writing test series so that you can improve your speed, you can improve your recollection, thinking abilities. You read something, you recollect and you present it. So that is the target of the test series. You join whichever test series. So to join test series, the basic criteria should be quality of questions. If the questions are good, you join the test series, right? So don't join it because somebody is saying that the feedback is good. If the feedback is good, it is dangerous, right? And especially joining a test series where like thousands of people join. This is suicide, right? I mean, that is what is happening right now. So we have only few hundreds of people, right? So irrespective of which test series, bring originality. So in essay, how will you bring originality? Put efforts, maybe 1 hour, 2 hour every day. So 1 or 2 ideas, examples I can give is that, you can collect diverse names of books. For example, books that have won Nobel Prizes, right? A Booker Prize. A non-fiction that are recommended by the most influential people like Obama, Bill Gates, right? They have this reading list. So you don't have to read those books. You don't have time. So what you can do, you can go to any app. There is one example, Blinkist. There is an app. It's paid app and also you can read few books free. So you can read the summary of that book. You remember the name of the author and remember the core theme of the book, what it tries to teach you or convey you. So like that, maybe you can have like 50 collection of 50 books, 5 from environment, 5 from defense, 5 from security, 5 from space, like different aspects, spirituality, 5 from moral philosophy, like this. So you can diversify, you can choose like 10, 12 broad themes, right? Something on poverty itself, right? Like education, if there is an essay on education, people think that quoting Acer report itself is an achievement, right? You quote Acer report and then think that, okay, I have done something really great, right? I mean, everybody does that. So how different, some people quote specific numbers, some people just generalize it. But if you can quote a book on education, right? Something, new thinking in the field of education, original ideas, which you can get from these books. So if you can use them, as a supporting, like evidence as for validation of your own arguments, you will have your own argument to support that you are going to use these ideas from others, right? Or complement or support your ideas. So that is the purpose of them. So this is one example. Similarly, like, you can have biographies, autobiographies, because the most of the topics are philosophical in nature. So biographies, autobiographies, something moving away from same people, this Gandhi, Vivekananda, APJ Abdul Kalam. If at all you really want to quote them, they may be having something, might have written some different books. They might have different ideas which is not in mainstream, textbooks or somewhere. If you have read something new about them, you can bring that. So thereby you can make something original out of the ordinary examples itself. So that is another way, right? So you can use them in the right context, not just because you have collection of examples, don't fit them artificially in your essays, right? So for that you should write more number of essays, more number of ethics answers, so they organically, are accommodated in your arguments, rather than it shouldn't look like, you are highlighting them so forcibly to show that, you have done extra. Again, that pretension should not be there in your essay, right? It should look like that, you are really well-read person and these ideas are just flowing in, while you are writing. See, this doesn't mean that you need to complicate your essay. The arguments should be simple, should be very organic, should be very readable, but at the same time, the way you are dealing with the topic, it should be completely different from the crowd, right? Maybe through examples, through different ideas. You need to write on a daily basis, basically, right? To think about something in a different manner. For example, can you give any essay topic, just random topic? I'll quote with an example. Preschool education system. Who said that? Okay. Preschool education, what? Like, you give it as your opinion. Is preschool education what? No, preschool, I was thinking about the small kids. Achha, that is negative. So, COVID and preschool education. Okay, if that is the topic, right? So, one of the things many people forget is not giving the contrasting argument. So, we follow this, fixed mindset. So, we will give supporting argument. Say that, according to this report, during COVID, these many children in the, age of between 3 to 6 were out of the school, and their, cognitive abilities, other independent thinking, all these have taken setback. Something you are writing. So, and also you write that, if because they are out of this thing, so they are suffering from many whatever it is. So you are writing something. Now, what is contrasting idea here? No, first question is how will you make it analytical, right? So how will you make it original? Second is what is the contrasting idea? What people have the tendency is that COVID has affected preschool education, they will give supporting argument. My question is what is contrasting? Okay.
It is also ensuring the health and safety of the family at the same time, because if they don't catch it, they don't transfer the virus.
Okay, good. So what he said is another positive point, positive aspect of that. So it's basically counter argument. Like you were saying, it has negative implication, but you are giving the counter argument. So my question is not about argument and counter argument. The contrasting picture of the whole argument. That in the normal times, how it was. So in the non-COVID times, what was the situation, right? So that many people don't highlight, right? I mean, maybe this topic selection is wrong. If the topic is negative topic or another positive topic, the negative side of it. For example, any terrorism related topic you can think of? Any other topic, poverty related topic?
Can we talk about agriculture?
So give it like your opinion based question.
In order to achieve smart development, the government and business should recognize nature's role in achieving economic growth.
Okay. So in order to achieve smart
development, government and businesses should recognize nature's role to achieving.
Okay. So it's a very good topic he is giving. In order to achieve smart development, government should recognize the role of nature right? So here you will write that, key role of nature is, you will go on supporting argument. The government should recognize the role of nature in different perspectives, and then you get the supporting ideas and arguments and you write. Now, what is the contrasting idea here? No, it's very simple, but don't complicate. I'm just trying to say is that there are two sides to argument. So what many people have is that if they look at the topic, they just go on supporting the argument. You go on justifying the idea with like 5 different examples, right? Now for the same topic, he is saying the nature has very important role in smart development. Now what I am trying to say is that if there was no nature, how development would have been affected. So that picture and adding nature to the development. So both sides of the argument people don't give in their essays. Have you experienced it? The majority of the essays I see is, maybe we are selecting wrong topics, but that is what I see. Their thinking is like unidimensional. So you take a topic, you justify it with 5 different examples, and then you come to the suggestion part, that is way forward part, and then you conclude with a very usual way. So in the conclusion there is no like surprising element, there is no like futuristic element, there is no, it doesn't inspire, it doesn't make a reader think about so what you have written, right? So every paragraph you think, you write, you think about the reader, how you can make the reader himself think about it. And there is also problem in essay that they are not connected. Every paragraph, every they are compartmentalized. So one paragraph to another paragraph, there is no natural connectivity. So there is no transition. So that happens because your mind is thinking in silos, like compartments. So you have this fixed mind. So first I will write about background, introduction, background. I will explain about the topic, and then I will justify the topic, and then I will talk about the problems, and then I will talk about the solutions, right? So what happens? This creates different parts. So you are not thinking like a story here, originally. So you write a paragraph about one idea, and suddenly, like for example, you are writing about environmental dimension of any topic. Now you are thinking about that, you should also include political angle. You abruptly shift from environmental angle to political angle without creating any transition. So what you need to do is that you should come over of that mindset that you should accommodate political. If at all you want to accommodate political dimension, you have to see within the environmental dimension what you have written. From there you take a hint, right? So for example, environmental dimension, like any random essay I am talking, you might have written about Indira Gandhi and contribution to maybe environment protection, whatever it is. So from there you can smoothly take to maybe political dimension without using the word political. And just, this is not about essay discussion, I am just giving general ideas, right? So there you can make it original by making it more organic, bring smooth transition. So that is what I meant by, giving free flow to your ideas and thoughts rather than getting, affected by fixed mindset. So you have to free yourself. The moment you do that, we start seeing that, the essay or whatever you have written is more organic, more original. So if you really want to score those many marks, you have to write more essays, do experiments, and some evaluators may not understand what you have written. You can bring to me or any mentor and show that whether if the essay is good enough, right? So we'll give you feedback and tell that okay, this is more original compared to other essays I have seen for the same topic, right? So if I have seen 10 sample essays, so I will know that your essay may be different or similar to what other people have written, right? But in general, did you get the idea how to make it little bit? Any other ideas you can share how we can make it original?
Every time say the feedback that include more dimension.
So see, more dimension, this part, it brings to fundamental question. When we say more original, what it is lacking is analysis, right? So it's mostly biased towards making factual. Like you have these examples of different dimensions, so you go on giving examples. So you don't ask basic questions. For example, he talked about a topic like smart development and its relationship with the nature. So you can start asking what is smart about development? I'll start with development. What is smart about development? Is there any relationship with smart development with other forms, or does it accommodate human development? Does it accommodate happiness? Something related. And why do we need smart development? So isn't this what is the problem with the present development that we are talking about? And then come to the nature, like, when you talk about accommodating nature or like environment, so why should it be done? You start with the very basic questions. What personally I don't see is that why and how of the topic in the essays, right? So what is perfectly addressed, right? But why and how, that itself will bring, the dimension that evaluator is talking about. You just ask basic questions, you create a subheading out of it, and that itself actually makes a very good subheading. I mean, very good dimension actually. See, that is again in order to make it look more original, more unique, more individualistic. So otherwise, it again, most of the essays become like that. So that is why you have to make it bit analytical. So again, without complicating it, the question should be simple. The way you are writing should be simple, but with effective example and arguments, right? So how many of you wrote mains last year? What was your essay score? Kitna hai maine? 130. Okay, good. What about others? 138. Good. So both of them took feedback from you. So you took, right? So what about others? Many people who took direct feedback have scored 135 plus. So last year, so in essay paper. So especially the feedback, so teaching in the classroom is different, and sitting in front of you and reading your own essay, identifying mistakes is different. So that becomes more individualistic, right? You bring something and I tell you that this is what other people are doing, this is how different you can do. So that works in essay and ethics very well, right? So if you are writing as part of main test series, whichever test series or any essay, you can always bring. So next 2 months you can keep bringing them. So coming to GS 1, 2, 3, so what has changed? Okay. So how can you score like 110 plus, 100 plus in GS 1, 2, 3? Okay, between the subjects. Yeah, that we started seeing the trend. Okay, so what she is saying is that topics are getting interlinked. So GS3 topics in GS1, GS2 in GS3, GS2 in GS4, more of it. So we are seeing that. But anyway, you people are preparing very well, right? You have notes, and according to GS1 syllabus, you have notes for every topic, and you are preparing. Preparation wise, your preparation is good. You are doing test series, you are again scoring very good marks in test series, but in real exam, so most of you are not getting very good marks. So why is that? So as we discussed earlier in the essay, the same problem, the problem of presentation of your answers, right? Now everyone writes in the point format, and everyone writes in a very abstract manner, especially English medium people. So you write in an abstract, you don't explain the point, and if at all you are writing in point format without quality examples, right? So the examples which you are giving are again very obvious examples. So there is no effort visible in your examples, right? And it's beyond this. So what is lacking in the present answers is that, so one is originality in terms of how you are structuring and presenting. The most important aspect is lack of bit of analysis in your answers. So most of the answers nowadays, like if you just randomly take previous toppers or whatever it is, 70-80% of the answers are factual. GS 1, 2, 3 paper. And GS 1 and GS 3 are by nature, they are more factual, right? Because the syllabus is like that. So this year if you see the marks, most of the students have scored low marks in GS 1 and GS 3 paper because you are good in content, right? But the questions do not just demand, examples and facts. The questions, if you look at GS3 and GS1, so they are not outrightly factual, like, what is this? Give example. They demand bit of analysis in the introduction level itself, and while you are, moving from one part to another part in the answer, between two parts, you don't write, like, you write positive, negative, you write pro, and you write against, right? So you have two parts, but within those two parts, there is no like transition paragraph or bridge sentence or anything. So there is no analysis, and you are writing like 6-8 points. You are not taking efforts to explain at least 2-3 points, right? So what is the importance of those points? Okay, so how are they meeting the demand of the question? So you are randomly putting a map, just highlighting few locations. Again, there is no other value addition. So you are not explaining how this map is actually helping drive a argument, a point, right? So just mere writing diagram, writing flow chart, just for the sake of doing, they are absolutely discouraged, right? So to put it simply, this herd mentality is being completely discouraged and destroyed. So you can go for mix of paragraph and point format. You think about it, you decide about it, right? So it doesn't matter how you are going to write. Ensure that quality is always good. The quality of argument, quality of examples, and in my opinion, mix of paragraph, mix of point format is better. Again, paragraph means what? Bit of analysis in between your points. So most of the question, like if I randomly take GS question papers, I think 60-70% of the questions are analytical in GS 1-2-3 paper. In GS2, you read like that, most of the issues are, you read in editorials, analytical, maybe you can write. So I have seen people scoring very good marks in GS2 this year, right? But in GS1 and 3, so again one feedback in GS3 that I have got is that many people are telling that I was like exceptional in GS3, like I knew everything, I wrote everything, I felt this was the best paper I wrote, and their marks are like 70, 65, right? So when they said I gave my best, I wrote my best in this paper, what they mean is that they have written best examples, the factual, right? But that analysis part, so that you should bring. So this brings to one important aspect of preparation. You cannot just rely on any ready-made current affairs, again, which tend to be more factual, right? So in my opinion, those who might have written regular answers in Secure or read the articles as links given in Secure, right? Those are very familiar with Secure, have advantage here. But that content should be written in this manner, again, not diluting it, filtering it and writing only words, keywords. There should be little explanation, and the way you write introduction, conclusion matters. So this is another feedback I got, not from student, from people, that so they are uninspiring. Either you directly define, or either you give background, you write something, but they are not addressing the demand of the question. The introduction and conclusion are actually a way how they can show how analytical you are, right? How much critical thinking you have, how much objectivity you have. So if you have any opinion, you give it in the introduction, maybe with some context and with very good fact related to that argument. By reading introduction, one should be able to assess the rest of your answer. That okay, this answer is definitely original. So in the introduction, like you write 2 sentences, it should have all the key words, and the entire answer which you want to write should be crystallized, should be portrayed in the introduction itself. So after introduction, you write definition, the keyword, and then you can write some background, like 2-3 sentences. But if this is the page, right? So let us say this is the question, and this is the introduction, and you write something about background here. So the very first part of the question should start from here, like in the first page. What many people do is that they write about introduction, background, other thing. In the second page, they start addressing the key demand of the question. Right? Always ensure that the part which is asked in the question, the key demand of the question, the first part is always there within the half page of the first page. And always use the same words that are there in the question. So in the subheadings, don't try to use your own words, separate words for that. But within that you can use all your original knowledge or whatever content you have, right? And have this presence of mind, smartness to divide your answer into multiple parts, right? To ensure that this answer is holistic and it covers all the components of the question. So most of the answers are same for explain, elucidate, and also analyze and discuss. If the question, so irrespective of the directive word that is there at the end of the question, so most of the answers have similar structure. You write introduction, 2 parts, way forward, and conclusion. Right? If the question is discuss, analyze, comment, even examine, compulsorily there must be analysis. Right? So your own inputs. It should be compulsory. If the question is just explain, elucidate, enumerate, these things there may not be needed. Some question directly start with what, right? So there you may not need to give lot of comment your opinion, but analyze, discuss, especially discuss is favorite word. So discuss we see in more numbers. It's very common. So you must have analysis in your answers. So and this analysis comes from again reading standard materials. For every topic, it can be a standard textbook, standard article, standard sources like Yojana, maybe down to earth, like if it is issue specific. And standard textbook like I recommend reading few chapters selectively from maybe Placido Partition and Bipin Chandra for modern history. Spectrum is useless, completely useless for entire examination, right? So it is only getting bulkier, and I don't know why you should read so all those facts, right? So even people are saying Lakshmikant also is it? People are saying for prelims it doesn't help, and prelims you are seeing that the polity questions make you scratch your head, like you have to think, right? These books do not make you think. You underline with yellow color this year, next year red color, yeah? Another year green color. I mean the book. So you are not able to think. I mean we used to read D.D. Basu, Durgadas Basu, Introduction to Indian Constitution, right? So at that time it was not valued. So it was like the exam you had 2 optionals, you had 2 GS papers, question was straightforward, no analyze, discuss, nothing. So we had that bent of mind, but we didn't clear. So suddenly in between this phase came 2013 to 2017, the pattern changed. The more weightage to GS papers, slowly it started shifting towards analytical. In 2014, Neha Kumari ranked 26. She wrote every answer in paragraph format, and she got highest marks in GS papers that year, right? So and then suddenly people started recommending point format, because as I said, 16, 17 people were writing in paragraph, and then came point format, and then box, underlining, all these things. So the evaluators are getting irritated that these people are not applying their mind, and these are products of coaching factory, this test series, that test series, right? So that is why we see more number of freshers getting selected, right? Especially, so some people who say I never went to coaching, they actually mean it, like some people. So unadulterated, unpolluted, right, minds. So I am also culprit, we are also culprit. So we have also said people to write in point format and all. But every time if somebody has come to me, I have always emphasized on originality, individuality. Like your answer should reflect your personality, your kind of thinking, right? And that is why essay and ethics always work. Most of the people come for essay and ethics to me, right? So ethics, my student has scored 122 this year, right? Diya, so she got 122. So essay also highest is not my student, but most of them have scored in the range of 135 to 140. So individuality, originality is the mantra, to success in this examination. So GS 1 to 3, GS 2, people who have used knowledge of political science to some extent, they have done well in GS 2 this year. So there was a trend. People with political science were not doing, political science and PubAd were not doing in GS2 earlier, because their answers tend to be more analytical. But this year, I am talking about 20 attempt, 20 analytical stuff is rewarded. In 19, analytical essays and ethics were rewarded. This year in GS also. But I don't know if this year it is going to be same. Maybe it depends on evaluator, but having 50 of that and 50% of this should ensure that, success, right? Ethics. So what works in ethics paper? It's mostly like similar to essay, the kind of unique examples, but what works most in essay is, ethics is two things. One is, in case studies itself, you have opportunity to score 70 to 80 marks, right? So in case studies, many people, the kind of case studies we are getting, they write like GS answers. And if they are asking course of action, they will tell, I will do this first, I will do this next. If this doesn't work, I will do this and that, right? And also before that, everybody has this set of, I don't know from who started it, stakeholder diagram, right? You write diagram and mention all the stakeholders, and you spend nearly half the page just writing stakeholders. What is intelligent about this? So who is the stakeholder, right? You have a district collector, you have a aged people suffering, you have public, you have government, and you feel you have done extremely intelligent thing by, writing stakeholder in big diagram, right? I have scolded personally people who have done that, like past 3 years I am doing that. So that is not they are looking for. Again, introduction, there is no introduction. In ethics case studies, most of the people do not write introductions. I encourage you to write at least, like 30-40 words introduction. So in the introduction, you can combine, 3 things. One is facts of the case, stakeholders, and the ethical issues that are there in the case. So you can combine, in this case, district magistrate being protagonist is, affected by this moral dilemma of something, initiated or created by another stakeholder. Some facts, something like this. So then if this case study has a context, right? If it was inspired by an example in the current affair, or a personality, something, you can give that context also, right? Another value addition what you can do is that if you know that it directly relates to any theory in ethics, right? So you can actually quote that, right? Or if it directly relates to any moral philosophy of moral philosopher like Mahatma Gandhiji and Western and Indian, you better go for Indian moral philosophers. So that also you can write. So effort should be visible that you have actually studied ethics syllabus, right? You remember stuff, you remember your concepts very well, you have clarity of concepts, and also you have done your homework with respect to studying the syllabus. So if you write the very generic obvious stuff, the marks are always in the range of 80 to 95, right? So that is one thing. If at all you want to write this diagram of stakeholders, so you can always combine it with ethical issues instead of just writing stakeholder. In ethics, from start to end, write everything in paragraph. Okay, start to end, write everything in paragraph. So in ethics, there is no fixed answer. There is no model answer. In essay, there is no model answer, right? They are bound to read every word you are writing, right? From beginning to end, they have to read it. You have to convince them, right? So one is, you are right. I was talking about another point. I went to introduction. So one missing thing is ethical justification. So you have an action to perform, You have decision to make. You say that, I'll take this decision in this moment. I'll do this. But you are not giving the why reason in the ethics context. You go and look back in all your ethics answers. None of you, majority of you do not write. So why you are opting for, if at all you want to help that individual in that situation. For example, that classic case is there. You are going to UPSC interview, there is an accident victim, you have this moral dilemma what to do. So if you say you will go to UPSC interview, so what is the ethical justification that you are giving? Right? I mean, if you read ethics syllabus, you will know. But you don't write it. Right? You don't write the theory part. Ethical justification, there can be legal justification also. Right? Or even like something there in the constitution as well. So as your duty, as your right. So if you say that you will save the victim but you will not go to interview, there must be 2-3 justifications. So you write a course of action and then you justify it. Why you are doing it in the light of ethical, justification, legal, maybe logical also something, right? Something is pragmatic to do in that common sense to do. So you write that also. And then you might have this precedence, like in the past somebody had done that, it resulted in more good for more people or something, such kind of example. So you write, you quote them, right? So for that you should have extra effort in collecting those kind of examples. Maybe last 7-8 years, it started in 13. So 13 to 20, how many years? So 8 years ethics papers you can collect, so you can thematically divide and collect examples in the sense these justifications, right? So this is one. The second aspect that is missing is that in the very action you want to take, the very decision you want to make, there is no innovation, there is no out of the box thinking, there is no originality. So you are again, the way you routinely think about particular thing, obvious way of thinking. So you are not using any innovative thinking, you are not applying any thought. So there is no out of the box thinking. In fact, in the interview also people give like this answer. So for example, there is a mob, lynching a particular person, and you are an SB, you are a police in charge of the region. So you have to go and stop the incident. So in that situation, what will you do? And you have 2 policemen with you and you are overpowered by the people. So the people, even in interview, in mains they will write, so like I'll call for backup, I will talk to the leader, and after that I'll create awareness about something. I'll ensure that proper safeguard arrangement is created, and I'll try to rescue the victim. So they go on writing, and even in the interview also they are telling the same thing, right? But when your imagination is running in the background, when somebody is saying that answer, it doesn't look practical, right? So this is mob and I am inspector, like you are about to kill me, right? So what should I do?
Courage to register.
Okay. So the mob is irrational, it wants to kill you. How will you save? Like, I cannot run here, like the door is closed. Try to persuade them. Shoot in the air. Do not provoke them. Okay. So how will you not provoke them? That how is important. Yes. So you may write, I'll ensure that I'll not provoke the mob further. It's a good point actually. So you have to write like how. Huh? What? Okay. So what about others? So this question was asked to somebody in the context of, having that human shield. There was an incident, right? Somebody was tied to jeep and then they escaped from the mob. So this question was asked like, it is in this context, would you do similar stuff? Like you have option to take one of them hostage, like escape from there. They don't throw stones at you, they don't throw weapons at you, right? So what would you do?
Saving life,
Saving your life.
saving as many as possible. You're taking that whole time. You're able to save as many as possible.
Then it's okay. So you can take, it's not hostage, you are taking them as human shield actually. You are protecting yourself. So you're taking somebody important from the crowd and you're tying them, and then you're saying that if you do something, and then you are escaping. No, that's what actually happened. At least that was the justification given. In self-defense, we tied that person and then we had to escape from there. Would you do similar thing this was an interview question. So in mock interviews, I suggested, yes, go with this. I mean, that is what they want to hear. Nowadays, that is why I suggested, right? But also, there is rationality, like, why would you sacrifice your own life? If there is a way to escape from the situation. So without harming anyone. So anyway, you will untie him and then you will send him maybe chocolate foods or whatever later, right? But some people are like arguing like activists in mock interviews. So like rights of that individual is more important than my own life. And because I am an officer and I am bound by duty to not to harm anyone. So that is a valid justification again. But I was telling that of course you have duty not to just for the government, public, as an individual also, maybe you have a family, right? And also saving yourself, maybe the future you can do more good, right? So, and again the mob is trying to kill you, it's create a violent, and if you get killed, what are the consequences? The government will send military, right? So they will kill more people, the more violence. So you have to wait on the point here is that be practical in your answer, don't be idealistic. Even when you are trying to be innovative, original, so don't sound like, in Kannada we say Gandhi, right? Don't sound like too idealistic in your answer, so that they don't like. So ethics, be practical, and of course the examples as I mentioned in essay thing. So go for unique examples, bring them. So even in conclusion, you can use a quote. So you can various ways of linking theories using quotes also. These moral philosophy theories, maybe there are books related to spirituality, morality, and you can bring those spiritual elements also if you're reading in your essays as a justification, right? Maybe a religious text, epic, a moral story. We have these all Aesop fables, Arabian Nights, Panchatantra. So you can quote them also. It's perfectly okay. But from beginning to end, your answer again should be very original, innovative, and okay. So should have ethical justifications. In section A, what I say is they are nothing but mini essays, 150 words, right? So in essay, you are trying to accommodate 4 or 5 different dimensions. So in 150 words, you need to do the same without writing in point format. So there is a quote based question, analyze the quote in the context of either civil service or in the context of present life, in the context of whatever context they have given. That analysis, what most people do is they either give one example, two example, or elaborate one example in support of the statement or whatever be the question, and by that time you are reaching the second page. So the answer ends, right? So when you come for feedback, I'll tell you like what it is exactly, right? Or if you can give any section A question which is not direct, like what is what. So you give importance to second part of the ethics. So after emotional intelligence part, right? The first part, the questions are getting lesser in number. The second part, so be thorough with the syllabus, because in section A most of the questions are related to that, like 70% of the question. So only quote based question or 1 or 2 questions are related to the first part, right? And coming to optional, read original textbook, whichever optional you are having. Repeating from coaching notes, repeating from any textbooks written by topper, again, not going to be helpful. So in 1 or 2 optional, we see these 1 or 2 individuals scoring like 40-50 marks higher than other individuals, because that year they have done something entirely different. But again, what happens next year? Everybody repeats the same. They make videos, they tell in this class, as a topper strategy. Like Lakshmi, it happened with Lakshmi, like rank 45. She scored 360 something. Next year, most of them started following the same strategy. So, came down marks. And there was a test series famous, everybody went there, marks came down. Herd mentality. So, what I suggest is that you have notes of any institution, whatever toppers you have, again, put extra effort. I know it is difficult, but if you can differentiate your answers through, reference to standard text, selectively you do. You know that, in any optional, there are topics which get repeated year after year. So, high impact topics. For those topics, you refer the best books available. Don't spend too much of time on them, doing research and all. Just update them with, some example, case studies, diagrams, whatever it is, and try to bring them in your answers. You may not score very good marks in test series, but in the real exam, you will definitely score very good marks. That's what, like coaching, it works, based on purely previous year pattern. So if somebody got good marks, they'll recommend you the same thing. If you have written something different, so some may not have that, intelligence to recognize it. They might punish you also, but don't get affected by it. If you think you have written relevant yet slightly different, go with it. So the entire discussion is that they want you to think really original. They want you to show effort in your scripts, essays, answers, case studies everywhere, and come across as somebody who is independent, who is innovative, who can take decisions based on your own thinking rather than manufactured by a coaching institution. Am I right? Does it make any sense? Right? I mean, it actually perfectly makes. If you understand this basic thing and accordingly you prepare for the examination, I am sure everyone who is going to write mains, so we will really score very good marks, irrespective of which center. So for that, you may have like group of 2-3 people. Don't share your notes. Don't share share largely idea, discuss, debate, everything, but ensure that you don't repeat the same example if you are writing same topic, like essay, any answer, right? So that's what I wanted to convey through this session. Otherwise, what happens? You again follow the same thing. You put every effort. I have seen like people working hard like anything, but it's not reflected in marks, right? It's not lack of knowledge, lack of practice, content. It's about not understanding, the very essence of the examination. So don't blame test series, don't blame anything. I mean, you write them, you practice them, but ensure that, so you really work hard and it's reflected in the papers. Any doubts? Everyone has cleared prelims? Some people have come up out of interest also. Next year it won't work. I don't know. Any doubts you have related to mains?
Customs and traditions of this region leading to obscurantism to it. So, what?
You should go against, completely against. See, accept the superstitious part in your answer. So you can go give any extreme example of negative example which everybody agrees with. Right? There may be a part of tradition culture which actually suppresses rational thinking, scientific thinking. Right? You have very clear cut evidence. You can give one example, but the answer should have in general that tradition and culture are for the better, right? For development or but for whatever, like it is serving humanity in a good way. So that should be the major. So you cannot just start bashing culture, tradition because the question is negative, right? But you can have one or two examples. So where like universally they are agreed upon, right? Whether it is right wing, left wing, it doesn't matter. They can agree with it. But ensure that in questions like society and in questions like history, you don't go completely against the established views, right? Or not established, the views that are trying to be established, right? The present, the thing. So that I had discussed last year, but still valid. I spoke to somebody who scored like 145, 146 in essay. So he has bashed Aurangzeb. I don't know. This fellow may be here. I don't know who is that. In one of the essays, Aurangzeb was completely bashed in one of the essays. So yes, Aurangzeb. So if you're praising him, it is like 70, 80, right? If you're not praising him, if you are like being very critical about him, then these are exceptions, okay? But logically speaking, why should you write against the government? Why should you be very critical? You need to show constructive criticism. Whatever argument you write, it should be constructive. You appreciate where they deserve appreciation. Criticize, but with solution, not blanket criticism. They are doing this, that, and they are so that is completely uncalled for. It's not rewarded also. It is punished actually in the examination. So in society questions especially you need to be careful, and in modern history, even paper 1 you need to be careful. Art and culture and society questions, and paper 3 also economy related questions. Okay. Don't be too critical. So in those questions about the government. So you all get influenced by the Hindu editorial, and you carry the same mindset. So it doesn't work. The activist mindset shouldn't be there in your essays and answers. Activist mindset, right? Too liberal views. So don't bring them. They are recruiting you to do certain job, not to be an activist in the government, right? You know what happens to activists in the government? You know what happens to activists on the road, right? Disha Ravi, there was one this lady. Many people are in jail like for no reasons. Unless you are a son of celebrity who can afford so many lawyers. So that is the thing, and that is why the weightage given to interview has increased. The mains, right? So they are not eliminating you in mains, but they are ensuring that they are eliminating in interview. It's very clear. IAS, IPS, IFS, if you are not scoring 190 plus, unless you really scored, exceptions in optional or maybe in essay. In essay and ethics, they are taking care of you. In interview, you need to score 190 plus if you really want to be IAS, IPS, IFS. So if you're not, so most of them haven't got these top 3 services. Those who haven't scored good marks in interviews. So maybe the least score maybe 170, 175 for an IAS, right? So why do they want to? They had floated this idea also, right? In academy, they will see your behavior, they will assess, and based on that, they will give you service and cadres, right? So this idea was also floated, and there was so much criticism, and they set it aside. And then the interview took over. In the mains, the marks are coming down, and the interview, you are with us or against us, right? And understanding this demand, I am able to help people score 190 plus, 200 plus, right? Many people like 212 is the second highest marks. Akshay. So I took many mocks for him. So Satyam Gandhi, I took only one mark, but anyway, like I gave him some feedback. But most of the people. So one thing is evident that it's not just about the feedback; they were already good. These people. So if I have to say one thing about the people who are selected in top 100, like 41 people whom I interviewed are in top 100, right? You see that they are well read, right? They have put really extra effort in their answers. One could see new perspectives. The thinking part is evident. So I think it matters in this examination. So you just have to polish their views in order, like in alignment with the expectation of the UPSC. They were already able to think, you just polish. So that was my job. So how you should answer these, tricky questions, these whatever, like critical questions, so that it is music to their ears. So that's what that is what I am doing and getting very good results, right? So there are many examples this year who had 160, 150, like 140 to 160 last year. After mocks, I don't know if it is because of me or because of their effort, most of them have scored 190 plus. And because of that jump in 30-40 marks, they got ranks also, very good ranks. So it starts with DAF. You decide about DAF now. Try to make it diverse. Don't just keep thinking about mains. So you need to ensure DAF has some diversity so that all 5 members have something to pick and start the conversation. So while filling DAF, my suggestion, my request, compulsorily come and talk to me. It starts from there, right? If you just put playing cricket, reading novels, listening to music, numismatics, gardening, something, all these uninspiring, that's not going to help. Herd mentality again. You are not doing them, but anyway you are watching cricket, no? So you are putting watching cricket, right? Gardening, farming, varieties of farmings have come up now. Varieties of farming, varieties of tourism, solo tourism, spiritual tourism, frugal tourism, economical tourism, variety of tourism like spiritual tourism, aesthetic tourism, right? Ecotourism, like they just want to be original, so you add one word in front of the tourism and then read about it. So, anyway, I'll guide about it later. Any doubts?
So in GS3, except GS1 and GS2, those are what they theory called. In GS3, some questions might be asked in current issue. Because in last year, 2020, they 2 or 3 questions from a pandemic, COVID pandemic. So as it is, this year also might be asked about some serious issues regarding NCD, this one, drugs or anything. So those questions come from in these 3, because hardly we have 50 or 55 days. In these days, is there any chances to ask questions current issues? Otherwise, only before the prelims.
No, it is not like that. Number one thing is that you should never go with any expectation. You prepare well. Last year issues that started in January and after prelims, before prelims, you make a list of all important topics. You prepare for them from different dimensions. So secure will help. For example, NCB we might have asked like 4 or 5 different questions from different perspectives. So you don't have this in mind that that definitely there question will be there on this. Your duty is to ensure that number one, how you can make a list is all important topics that are something directly related to syllabus. So be thorough with them from January to present. It's like 1 year from last year means to this year means. Second one is that of course it can be asked. So ensure that you really have this original content for all these topics, ready-made, prepared, so that you just revise, recall and write in the examination. So my suggestion is January to present, secure compilations or any editorial compilations, not just current affair compilations. So in editorial, you will have some views, both pro and against. So because you are writing for this UPSC, you know what kind of views you should have, more objective ones, tilted towards pro-government. So have them in your notes and supporting arguments. Okay. But if there is a question on NCB, you should support NCB. I mean, support in the sense, not complete blanket support. That's what constructive suggestions you can always make. You can make to Supreme Court, you can make to CAG, you can make to Election Commission. So they are always, accepted and appreciated. It should be like blanket criticism or like what do you call? When you praise someone so much, what do you call? Huh? I mean, there is word in English. No, what is that? In English, psychophancy. Oh, I mean, that shouldn't be there. But make a list of issues. So one thing, you can bring your copies once in a while, so that I can or any experienced mentors can check. Second is always your self review, right? You read your answer critically, that you are ensuring all these elements are present. So see, it doesn't mean that everybody who was scoring good marks didn't score, right? Some of them definitely scored. Like there is one girl, Saujanya. So she has scored like 420 or 413 GS. So she was scoring similar marks here also, right? So but when I randomly looked her answer, like it didn't conform to the usual way of writing point format boxes and all. She just like went with the flow, like you start and then you finish, without worrying about underlining, without worrying about presentation and all, right? Maybe for in the real examination that was original. In this, like there was quality also, but there was originality in terms of not following the herd mentality. In other case, you are scoring good marks means you definitely deserve, your content is good, but it is following herd mentality, you are punished in the exam. So that is the thing, right? So that is what I was told. Like if we see that if we see 10 copies, if they have written similar thing, we ruthlessly reduce like 2-3 marks per answer. It deserves 6, but you are getting 3.54. The content is good, but it shows that there is no independent thinking. So that is the thing. So you go with the evaluation, your content is good. Now find a way to make it more original, as I discussed, being analytical, good introduction, good conclusions. It all depends on extra efforts, in my opinion. You cannot just write original stuff by depending on what you already know, right? Slightly you can make it, but if you really want to make a difference, we have to put little extra effort. I think there is no shortcut here. I used to tell presentation used to matter a lot last 2 discussions, last 2 years, but even now it matters. Like if you are writing illegibly, if you are writing with all these strikes and all, nobody likes it, anyway punishes. But in my opinion, it's about the content now. The content is more important. The quality is more important, rather than going with the presentation thing. So evaluator might say that you write your answer like this, present like this, box like this. Ignore it, right? Because they are writing it for everyone, and more people will start doing that. So it is also common sense. If you are writing most important point, you need to highlight it. So you can write in block letters, or you can write in a contrasting color. If you are answering in the entire blue, you can write examples in black also, right? So maybe you find a way to do that, bring originality. No. Essay strictly no no diagram, no point format, no bullet format, no diagram, no map, nothing. Everything should be in words. From beginning to end, everything should be in words. Paragraphs. So they are also not touching nowadays. I would have left it completely. The same effort I would have put in the society part. That extra effort. I mean, you read the basic things. If the luck is there, I mean, whatever that is there in NCERT, the world history, I think that is sufficient. So if they ask indentured labor, you have read 3-4 lines from there. From there, you build your answer. If they are asking about Japanese industrialization, you have read 3-4 lines. You write it from there. I think that much is enough. The new NCERT, whatever world history is there, right? I think you just read it, make short notes, any different things you come across. So I think that is enough. So don't chase bulky materials. Yes. But pros and cons, only pros and cons is not analysis, right? So asking fundamental like how, why, analyzing that, then interlinking with the present context, the future consequences. So it's all analysis.
There should be some internal truth behind all these trends. Like trends are unreliable. Depend on those who are planning data. And for example, with respect to prelims, it was very unconventional this time. But what saved us was our foundation knowledge and being in touch with current affairs. That saved us. So similarly with respect to mains, going behind all these trends, what's that eternal truth element?
What is that?
Eternal truth element, like it saves us, which helps us in the test of time.
So ultimately, it's the quality of the content. I mean, for example, if somebody has read, let us say that there is this question, the relevance of Mahatma Gandhi in the present context. There is a question. So people write, the truth is important, non-violence is important, satyagraha is important, something in the same answer. Suddenly, if somebody quotes a book, so somebody might have read, a critical look at, Gandhian philosophy, Gandhian principles, and suddenly only one point, did they bring it in their answers? That, or even the thing that, that the relevance is questioned by the very nature of, how technology has taken over our lives, right? The technology might make it irrelevant also, we don't know in the future. You bring some new dimension, a new thinking, right? And in the very syllabus it is there, the new thinking word, I have seen that in the interview, right? The word new thinking is there. So for me, it should be there in your mains answers, essays and essays also, ethics answers also. Even one, not the entire answer, not the entire script, at least one argument, one example in every answer, which comes across as a fresh breath of air for evaluator, that you are self-made individual, self-made billionaire.
So in overall questions, how to manage time?
Write more tests. I mean, that is the only way. There is no other argument. I mean, one thing you should know your content very well. You should have revised it. Your thinking must be very fast. While reading the question, you know how many parts in your answers are going to be. You divide very quickly, and then mentally you have to do that, like in few seconds, and then you start answering the question. So with more, in the beginning, if you are writing first mains test, you will write 12-14 answers. So what I have noticed, after writing 10-12 full length papers, you will start writing 16-17 answers, and then usually everybody who writes all our tests end up writing 19 to 20 answers by the last examination. So that is always, even if you end up writing 17-18 answers in the real exam, you are all pumped up. The questions also are kind of different, in tune with what you have actually prepared, most of them. So you tend to write always 20 answers. In every session before means I told people that if you write all our tests, you will be left with 5 to 10 minutes in the real examination. And it happens with so many people.
So, someone who's facing an inherent reputation of writing slow and hasn't been able to correct it all through this while. Sir, in that case, should we write all the answers with, let's say, making a minimal reduction in the word limit, or maybe write the answers within the word, like maybe extend the word limit a little bit and leave 1-2 questions at all and not attempt them?
Okay. Acha, thanks for asking this question. So this brings to another thing. They are also punishing, dumping of content, like, from end to end. So people filling the pages, every space. So don't do that. Be very precise to the point, right? So coming to this, if you can do justice to question where you really know very good answer, never dilute it, right? So do it within the word limit without exceeding the word limit, right? So that is handsomely rewarded. And with practice you can actually do this. If you know all answers, like for all 20 questions, with practice you will be in a position to answer all 20 questions. But let's say like you don't know exact answer to 2 to 3 questions, but you know something. Try something. But if you really don't know anything about that question, completely leave it blank. Anybody who is trying to be smart and try to answer for questions which you really don't know the answer, the entire paper gets affected. They are punishing. So honesty. So it's our own personality. This is there. But if you really know something about it, can think sensible few points, like 3-4 points, write only 3-4 points. So don't be under compulsion to extrapolate, fill 2 sides because you know one or 2 points. You write 1 or 2 points, at least you get 2-3 marks. Show honesty in your answers. See, in the beginning, try to focus on quality, like few tests, right? So ensuring that per question you get maximum marks. But going forward, because you don't have luxury of time, like after few, like 6-7 tests, you should chase quantity. Like you should try to answer all questions. No, not like that. In 3 hours, that's what. So don't take extra time and write all the answers. Never do that. Right? So you go back home and you write extra question which you leave in the examination. But while you are in the classroom and answering in 3 hours, be very honest. Try to answer as many questions you can. So going forward, you will see improvement. Otherwise, you will not see improvement. So for what purpose you should take more time and write? So maybe you want to recollect and write, but so that doesn't help in the real exam. Any other doubts? So what about all of your optional? Anthropology, how many? Okay. Political science? Sociology? 3. Okay. Kannada literature? Geography? Public administration? Okay. Others like chemistry, physics, botany, zoology, mechanical engineering, mathematics? Only 2. Okay. Yeah. So one last word of advice: don't chase your optional too much. No. There is no advantage, right, in spending literally entire time on optional right now. Score 250 marks. Have ambition of 250 to 260 marks. Try to maximize marks in GS papers and essay paper and then in interview to get into these 3 services. So do enough to get those marks. Cover every part of the syllabus, know something about everything, every topic, but don't try chase that perfectionism. Like you want to, as I said earlier, most important topics you can do this. Right, the topics which get repeated, you can selectively enrich your notes, do it in 10 days of time and that's it. Write test series, try to complete the paper. So that's it. So give more weightage to collecting better examples. Ethics and essay combined, you can score 260 marks, like highest marks. And GS 1, 2, 3, 330 marks. Right. So 330 plus 260, 590. So another 216 optional. 590 plus 260, 815 or 850? 850. That is like top 10, right? 180, 850 plus 180 is top 10 or top 20 score. Okay. So, okay, all the best. Thank you so much.